The Utah Jazz announced this afternoon that Walker Kessler was undergoing season-ending shoulder surgery. So what does this mean for the Utah Jazz? What does it mean for Walker Kessler? And what does it mean for the other players on the roster? Let's talk about it.
Jazz Smack, NBA and Utah Jazz basketball.
So this is really unfortunate news. I think we can all agree with that. We all hate to see injuries, even though it's a big part of basketball. We just hate to see it, especially after watching Taylor Hendricks last year go down for the entire season. And now we're in a repeat situation of that. Now, that Taylor Hendricks injury, I mean, none of us ever wanted to see that. This Walker Kessler injury was nothing like that. But it has a huge impact on this Jazz team. And this was a season where management, ownership, the coaching staff really wanted to see significant improvement on the defensive end of the court. Now, the Jazz are in a situation where they are losing their best defensive player. Walker always served as kind of a safety valve. He's that rim protector. He's the shot blocker. He's the paint presence. And that helped all the guys on the perimeter defend better. They could take more chances. They could be up into guys more, knowing that Walker was always back there. So the Jazz lose that. And from a numbers perspective, from an evaluation perspective, you're no longer comparing last year to this year because you lost your best defensive asset. So it's no longer an apples to apples comparison. So you can't just look at the numbers. You're going to have to go through an evaluation process and see, okay, how well are these individual players defending better? As a team collectively, it's just different. It just makes it a bit harder. It's not impossible, but it certainly adds more difficulty to what the coaches are doing, to what management is doing, and from a fan's perspective, I think I can say for pretty much every Jazz fan out there, they really want to see defensive improvement. And without Walker, it makes it more difficult. It really does. But still, the focus needs to be on that defensive. The defense on the perimeter has to start there. And so this doesn't impact that in a huge way. Like, we still need to see those guys defend better on the perimeter. All guys defend better on the perimeter, and that still needs to be the focus. So that's from the Jazz perspective. From Walker's perspective, we all know, we saw it in that interview process at the beginning of the season, where on media day, Walker was asked about his contract situation. Now, Walker was hoping to get a new contract, a contract extension, completed this past summer. He and his management and the Jazz were unable to come to any sort of an agreement. So Walker is now going to go into this coming summer as a restricted free agent, meaning that the Jazz will offer him a qualifying offer in mid-June, and that's going to be somewhere around $6 million. And then Walker has the ability to go out in the open market and search for a contract with another team. And if he's able to come to an agreement with another team, he can sign that contract, and then Jazz have the ability to match that contract. So that's a situation that Walker faces right now this coming summer. Now, I think that Walker really wanted to have a good year this year to show not only the Utah Jazz, but other NBA teams that he was worthy of a contract that I'm assuming the number that he wanted was somewhere in the $30 million a year range. And I think he really wanted to display his improvement on both offense and defense. I know he worked hard this summer to improve his offensive skills, but now he's unable to do that heading into restricted free agency. And that's very unfortunate for Walker. So what does that mean for Walker? What is he going to do? The reality of it is he could go into the restricted free agency this summer, just sign that qualifying offer, and considering that he did lose this entire year where both the Jazz and other teams in the NBA had to evaluate him. And since he lost that, he could just go into next summer and say, okay, what's the best thing for me to do? If he's unhappy with the numbers that he's being presented by both the Jazz and other teams out in the marketplace, he could just say, well, I think it's in my best interest to just play for that qualifying offer and rebuild my worth next year when I can play, in the hopes of attaining a $30 million a year contract or so. So that is one avenue. That also, if he doesn't do that, one of the things is, like, his value may not be maximized. So the Jazz could conceivably end up with a better value contract than maybe he would have been able to get if he goes out there in the open market. He's not able to find a really nice contract in the $30 million range that he really wanted, but somebody offers him, somewhere between 20 and 25, maybe 23, 24, 25 even. And he signs that with another team. And then the Jazz are able to sign him, match that contract, and get him for a number that they more wanted. So that actually benefits the Jazz. Unfortunately, it benefits the Jazz at Walker's expense. And quite frankly, I hate to see that. But another thing that Walker could do was say, okay, so I don't have the ability to generate a $30 million contract right now. I am going to just play out this qualifying offer and go into unrestricted free agency the following summer. Now, if Walker does choose that route, I don't think this is what he's going to do, because I think he's going to actually end up with a nice contract, maybe not exactly what he wanted, but a nice contract, because there is security in signing that contract. If you sign, an $80 to $100 million contract over 4 years, that certainly gives you financial security, a lifetime of financial security for most people. And I think he's going to choose that. But there is a chance that he could say, I think I'm worth more than this, and I'm going to just play out my qualifying offer and go into unrestricted free agency the following summer. Now, if Walker does do that next summer, the Jazz cannot allow Walker to go into unrestricted free agency without, if he's going that route, the Jazz have to look for a trade. They just cannot allow him. Walker is way too good of a player, way too important of an asset just to allow him to get to unrestricted free agency and possibly leave the Jazz for another team. Now, we don't know. The only one that can answer the following questions is Walker Kessler. We don't know how happy he is living in Utah, how happy he is playing in the Jazz system, how happy he is playing under Will Hardy. We don't know any of those questions. Only Walker can answer those questions. So if he's really happy here in Utah, happy playing under Will Hardy, happy with his role, happy with the Jazz system, he's most likely, for certain, going to end up back with the Jazz, unless he finds some team that signs him to some contract that the Jazz say, no, we can't pay that. And I don't know what that number would be, but it is possible that he could find that. I think it's unlikely, especially having missed this entire season with an injury. But, those are the type of scenarios that are out there that we have to follow, and that the Jazz are certainly aware of all those different scenarios. So it's going to be interesting to follow this and see where it goes over the next year and next summer. Because next summer, we're going to know a whole lot more. What route is Walker going to take? What route will the Jazz take? And what route will other teams interested in Walker Kessler's services, what route will they take? So from that standpoint, that's what the standpoint from Walker Kessler. Now let's look at it from, okay, so what does this injury mean for the Jazz this season? Now, we all know that there are players out there that are going to get more time. Without Walker's 30 minutes or so a game that he was in line to play, all those minutes go elsewhere. I mean, Kyle Filipowski is going to get greater opportunity. Taylor Hendricks is going to get greater opportunity. And quite frankly, all the forward positions, meaning the small forward as well. And that means Ace Bailey as well. Ace Bailey is probably in line for a greater role. And then there's Nurkic. Nurkic will probably end up playing more minutes than he would have otherwise played. So those four guys specifically are going to be the ones that are impacted the most. Lowry was going to get time regardless. It doesn't matter if Walker's there or not there, Lowry's going to get big minutes. But those other four guys, three of those development guys and also Nurkic, I think their playing time roles are going to be expanded. So that's kind of the scenarios with this and what is in line to happen. And I don't think there's anybody that knows for sure what's going to happen. All I know is I think we're all very disappointed to see Walker go down with an injury this year. I mean, Walker's my favorite player on the team. I've openly admitted that many times. I like defense. Walker's the best defensive player on the team. And with his loss, it hurts. It really hurts. And it's disappointing. I mean, watching Walker block shots with either hand, watching him track shots so well, and it's beautiful. I loved watching him do that at Auburn, and just to get into the NBA and continue to do it and continue to do it on the Jazz was even better. I mean, it's just really, I mean, it's just unfortunate. I'm sad for Walker. I'm sad for the Jazz. I'm sad for Jazz fans because the Jazz improving on defense without Walker, it makes it a lot more difficult. It really does. But it has to be the emphasis needs to be on that perimeter defense. If we improve there, we can improve the overall defense immensely because it starts with those perimeter defenders. No more straight line drives. Let's try and stay away from that. But anyway, it was sad news, and I think everybody can agree to that. I mean, Walker's a fantastic person. I mean, he seems really an intelligent young guy and a nice young guy and kind of a happy-go-lucky type of guy. And it's really unfortunate to see him lose a year due to a shoulder injury that he apparently suffered originally back at Auburn. So I'm glad to see that he's finally getting it repaired if it's been giving him problems all this time, that, hopefully there's a real solution to it and he doesn't have any other further issues with this shoulder. But anyway, those are my thoughts on this particular subject. And for all those out there, you can follow us on X at JazzMac. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe. And we will talk to everybody later.